teacher like Daddy.
When I finish school, I would like to be a doctor.
I want to be a rock star drummer. I want to be an artist. When I grow up, I will be a baseball player. I want to be a mommy.
Everyone has hopes for their future, their families, and their communities. These hopes can be for something as simple as the opportunity to get an education, to enjoy lasting relationships, or to develop skills and be able to use them to provide for others. For many people, however, these modest goals are made impossible by the constant struggle for survival. Lack of safe water, adequate sanitation, and effective hygiene push people's visions and hopes for the future out of reach. Water. Over 1 billion people, or about 17% of the Earth's population, do not have access to safe, clean water.
Every day, over 4,000 children die of diseases which are related to unclean, unsafe water. Can you imagine if those people that have to walk 5 miles to go and fetch dirty water had the water nearby? Can you imagine what you can do instead of walking 5 miles? How many rows of beans and cassava and potatoes can you grow?
Sanitation. Conditions in many places without safe water are made worse for lack of adequate sanitation. Over 2.5 billion people, 42% of our world's population, do not have the security and dignity of a simple latrine.
Lifewater works in sanitation because we've seen the connection, the strong connection between safe water, adequate sanitation, and hygiene. In the Gospels, I'm struck by Jesus' care for the poor. And when we work in sanitation, we see that it's really the poorest of the poor who are in need. I believe that followers of Christ are really called to be in those places precisely where they're suffering, precisely where no one else cares. Sanitation makes a huge impact in people's sense of dignity and self-worth. One of the improvements that we see when a community adopts adequate sanitation is that girl-child enrollment at schools increases dramatically.
Hygiene education. Hygiene is an essential component of good health. When combined, water, sanitation, and hygiene reduce the number of deaths caused by diarrheal disease by an average of 65%.
Everybody tends to see the need for safe water. It's more obvious. But if you have safe water and people carry it in dirty buckets and contaminate it from the source, or if people don't wash their hands, they're going to get sick. One of the things about hygiene practices is that it involves behavioral change, and behavioral change takes time. One of the things that we do is we first teach about the importance of it so that they're motivated to change because they understand disease transmission. And then we encourage our partners to have follow-up to continue going back to the communities. It's really important to include the whole community throughout the entire process because when you do that, they take ownership because they've been part of the process and you have sustainability. Once people have received hygiene education, you see them using the hygienic practices of using buckets that are clean and washing their hands, and you see a general sense of self-worth that they know and understand how they can help their communities.
How Lifewater works. The extent and severity of the water and sanitation crisis compel Lifewater to work in a way that multiplies its impact. Lifewater develops long-term working relationships with indigenous partner organizations in Africa, Asia, and Latin America. As part of the strategy to equip these partners, Lifewater trains qualified North American volunteers as field trainers in community-based training strategies, shallow well drilling, hand pump repair, biosand filtration, sanitation, and community health through hygiene. After Lifewater and its partners have developed work plans, field trainers and Lifewater staff travel in small teams to share their knowledge, skills, and resources with the partners. Partners go on to train local communities to take responsibility for their own health and to find contextually appropriate and sustainable solutions to their water and sanitation needs. The training also teaches participants how to share their life-saving knowledge and skills with others. As a result, each year, hundreds of thousands of people enjoy newfound health, dignity, and security as they establish safe water, adequate sanitation, and effective hygiene practices. Lifewater Field Trainers.
It's hard to describe a typical volunteer. Many of them are professionals in their fields, well drillers, geologists, scientists of different types, but we have people that are not from a scientific background as well. Not all are already equipped to train in well drilling or in hygiene, and so we have a training program focused for our volunteers to help them develop the skills that they need then to pass on to our partners so that our partners can train the communities that they're working with. So we are trainers of trainers.
The blessings of being a volunteer trainer are coming back from a trip knowing that, it's quite likely that maybe one child will live or one, adult will live because of the training that you've done, and realizing that you're part of God's plan when you do that.
Our volunteer trainers become close associates, friends, brothers and sisters to our partners. The relationships that are built in just a few short weeks of training last for decades. And when the volunteers return, it's a time of rejoicing, of reuniting of friendships.
National Partner Organizations.
Lifewater works well through volunteers to do training, but in the long run, it's the partner organizations that are walking out that training, being in the villages, preaching the gospel, and making a difference and an impact in local villages. For many of them, it's a calling, a ministry first. They want to help their own people. It's something that God's laid on their heart to do. And they found an amazing vehicle to do that through water, sanitation, and hygiene ministry.
Since Lifewater started, Lifewater trained partners have installed over 3,000 water wells, and this has served over 1 million people with safe water. And that's not even including other technologies that Lifewater's used, such as hand pump repair and all of the wells that have been rehabilitated through that. Oftentimes when our partners or volunteer trainers go and do work in the field, the community members ask them, why have you come? Why are you here? Why are you doing this? And it's so natural to be able to bring in the physical and the spiritual aspect, so we can say to them that Christ cares about your whole being. We're bringing water in the physical sense because we know that you need it to survive, but Christ has also come that he would bring the living water, which is everlasting.
Looking into the developing world, we see that the need is so great for water, sanitation, and hygiene and the knowledge of God's love. We feel that we are compelled to respond to that need with the tools that God has given to us. It may seem easy just to dig a well, but it is no easy task to help people without creating dependency. Over the last 26 years, Lifewater has been working with international partners to avoid dependency and work for long-term sustainable responses.
As Lifewater and its partners empower local communities to gain safe water, adequate sanitation, and effective hygiene, more and more people around the world escape the vicious cycle of poverty and disease. Families that used to spend their days collecting water and battling waterborne disease begin to enjoy good health, enroll their children in school, and develop skills that enable them to meet their basic needs. Safe water, adequate sanitation, and effective hygiene offer health, dignity, and hope, and make possible the pursuit of goals and the realization of dreams.
When I grow up, I want to be a doctor. I want to be a teacher. But I want to be a doctor. I want to be a construction worker.
When I finish high school, I want to be a pediatrician.
I want to be in a marching band. I want to be a ballerina when I grow up. I want to be a teacher like Daddy.
When I finish school, I would like to be a doctor.